Hi everybody, welcome back to MedTech Unplugged. My name is Dave Vellante, and you're watching the NYSE Wired plus theCUBE's ongoing Media Week series. I'm here with John Furrier as well. David Stein is also here. He's the CEO of Babson Diagnostics. David, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Great to see you, David, and great to be here. It's
yeah,
really
so
exciting.
I'm really excited about this conversation because we all can relate to what you guys do. Tell us about the company and why you guys started it.
Sure. Diagnostic blood testing is most likely the most important thing you do for your health. But it's something that very few people like, and it's something that hasn't changed in over 70 years. And what we've done at Babson Diagnostics with BetterWay blood testing is create a highly preferred patient experience by enabling a very easy fingertip collection deployed at highly accessible locations. We're everywhere from retail pharmacies to doctors' offices to even lobbies of employers such as New York Stock Exchange, doing all that while providing highly accurate, broad results that your clinicians can use, you trust, and your health insurance reimburses.
So the last time I had blood work done, it was in my doctor's office, and I was getting chatty.
Yeah.
And the poor gal, I was distracting her. So she forgot to put the rubber band on, and she's having trouble finding the vein. And I said to her, "Wait, you need the rubber." And so it took like 4 or 5 tries to do it. Right. And actually, you know, I looked like an addict. Yes. And so what you're describing is like music to my ears.
You know, I mean, what you bring up is a common problem, right? Diagnostic blood testing is the most ordered medical intervention, yet it suffers from 30 to 40% noncompliance. If you talk to people and you say, why don't you get it done? It's exactly what you said. Since the late 1940s, the approach of sticking a needle in your arm is the way blood is collected. People don't like it. Majority of people, I would say a large part of the population, have difficult veins or some kind of reaction to it, or have an experience such as yours. So when we thought about our product BetterWay, we said we've got to make the collection experience something that people really prefer, but also something that's highly automated so somebody in a phlebotomy center or at a retail pharmacy or at your doctor's office can easily collect. And I think all the things you brought up of making it less scary, lower friction, and really easy is something that we have in BetterWay. And it all starts again with a simple collection from your finger using a device that we developed with Becton Dickinson.
Oh, you have show and tell?
I have a device here, it's easy. We can't bring our whole ecosystem, so we truly reimagined an end-to-end diagnostic ecosystem when it comes to making collection easy, when it comes to automating all the processes so you can deploy it in a decentralized location, and then coupling it with a highly automated lab. But it starts with a simple collection. Again, we developed this with Becton Dickinson. This is the BD MiniDraw. And again, it was co-developed with us. Very simple on your finger, single-use lance through here, folds down, and the person collecting you just pushes on these ears.
Drips, yeah.
And it's a closed system. In the end, this is the tube. And from this tube, we're able to do a very large number of tests because we've really looked at that end-to-end ecosystem and optimized it when it comes to not wasting blood, when it comes to automating all the pre-analytic processes, all the processes that get done to mix the blood, to centrifuge it. And then in our lab, with our partner Siemens, we've miniaturized the biochemical processes or the recipes needed to analyze the blood to need 55% less blood. So that is, what's really cool about what we do is it's very transparent and everybody can understand it. And if you go to betterway.com, it's right there. We take you through our science, we take you through actually our results, and what's super cool for us is we just had a landmark publication in the Journal of Applied Lab Medicine by the who's who in diagnostics looking at BetterWay, so simple collection, fully automated, pre-analytics, and the miniaturized assays on the back end compared to venipuncture, compared to conventional testing, and the paper speaks for itself.
You said 55% less blood, but it seems to me to be even greater advantage because I'm used to 3 or 4, maybe even more large test tubes. Well, that is so much smaller than what I'm used to.
I'll take you through it a little bit. No, you bring up I tried to simplify it, but you bring up a really great point. So we collect here about 435 microliters, about the size of a pea. And what we're talking about here is the clear part of your blood, this serum. We then use Babson IP built into the BD tube to maximize the utility of that serum. where we waste 93% less of the blood. Because in a conventional large tube, a significant amount of that blood is wasted. And then we couple that with our highly automated lab where the sample is placed on high volume systems where we need 55% less.
I see.
So it's that convolution of collecting a high quality sample, relatively large for capillary, but still about 1/10 of the volume of venipuncture, wasting 93% less. So we only waste about 9 microliters, so a fraction of a drop of blood, and needing 55% less is that end-to-end ecosystem where there's no more black box, where you can look at every step of the way and say it's scientifically rigorous. We've done over 45 IRB studies, approaching 1 million tests as part of studies, and what's even more exciting, we're commercial. So with BD secured 2 510Ks on these tubes, we have FDA listing across the end-to-end ecosystem. We're reimbursed by Medicare, Medicaid, United, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and what's really made this worthwhile, our team's been working on it for 10 years, is when you have a patient who says to you, wow, I now have a solution that works for me. And when you look at our 79 Net Promoter Score, this is world-class, not only in diagnostics, but world-class for any organization. It's something we're really proud of.
So a couple things. So basically, all those test tubes that they collect, it's almost like over-provisioning in technology, just in case, and much of that blood probably just gets either thrown away, right? And so they don't need to collect that much. And the second question I have is, are you able to, presumably able to get to results faster because you've got this automated system at the other end? Is that true, or?
I think so we're hyper-focused right now on outpatient, ambulatory, meeting you where you are in your daily routine. Very much convenience. Mm-hmm. So we're approaching 30 different locations in Austin. Austin and the surrounding Austin areas where we launched. We're proud to be headquartered in Austin, Texas. And there you can get our blood testing, your blood collected at HEB, the largest retailer in Texas, Sam's Club, as part of Walmart, People's, and several other locations. And what's great about that is the transaction is super quick. Your clinician places an order with, sends you to BetterWay, or in Texas you can customer initiate broad testing. You walk in, quickly get collected, and then depending on when you went there during the day, whether our courier came or not, you'll get your results later that day or the next day. So typically people are very impressed by how fast they get their results. And we spent a lot of time on the customer-facing or the patient-facing lab report, where we spent a lot of time giving you a compendium of your health, explaining what your results mean, so that you feel empowered when you talk to your clinician, or you feel empowered taking charge of your health.
So how does that work? You have to train people, obviously, to take the blood, which it seems like it's pretty straightforward.
Yes.
And then they handle
No, you have exactly. We've trained over 200 people to collect for us commercially. They're typically cashiers, pharmacy techs, front office staff, very few, counting the single digits, were phlebotomists. Most show up never collecting blood before. We have a beautiful training program. It's about 2 hours. They walk in the morning never having collected blood, and part of the BetterWay process with the sample prep device you leave behind at the pharmacy is it talks them through the process. It's highly automated. The collection device is very easy to use. So again, all the friction points of phlebotomists needing to understand how to get to the vein, what tubes to collect, all that process, we've now automated to take that guesswork out, but also to improve operational efficiency. So when you look at where we're moving towards now, deploying with the largest healthcare organizations in the world, they want highly clinical relevant solutions that are very staff friendly and that are highly patient preferred. And we check all those boxes. We can deploy in any location. We take up basically a corner of a room is all we needed, less than this table to do collection. We could train any one of their staff members, from their front desk clerk to anybody clinically. And in the back, and as I said before, the patient experience is highly preferred with a 70 on Net Promoter Score. So all those friction points in the system that dates back to 1940s, we have really gone after. We've thought it through. We've spent 10 years developing. Now what's beautiful is we have thousands of people experiencing it.
So is that the secret sauce? Is you guys just reimagined the workflow and have automated that? Is there other technology that you've developed? Is there AI involved?
Yeah, very much so. So all along the way. So what we did was we said, if you didn't want to make a compromise, if you said, need to be clinical results, need to have the same broad tests that payers reimburse, the CPT codes,
Yeah.
broad tests that your clinicians need to screen you for your annual wellness, disease identification, and you have to make it a customer experience breakthrough. That was something people said was impossible. So we've spent 10 years systematically, the team, starting with Eric Olson, the founder, doing the initial skunk works, and people that are still with us today, Chris DePasquale, Roy Barr, Chris Tanzi. I can name 100 people, and I'm sorry I can't name the whole team. We have an incredible team of dedicated people that day in and day out looked at this challenge and said, we're not going to compromise. And very quickly, we started working with Becton Dickinson on the collection device I showed you. Very quickly started working with Siemens. So we have great partners in Siemens, the #1 in diagnostics, and Becton Dickinson, #1 sample collections, our partners. And we said, if we had a blank sheet of paper, we were able to truly reimagine this end-to-end ecosystem, what would you do? And we spent, as I said, almost 50 IRB clinical studies, in addition to numerous just sitting together, thinking it through, camping out in pharmacies, camping out in clinical sites, and saying, how would you reinvent this process? And the biggest part of that was feedback from patients like you, and patients like me. Is this something we would use? And that's what's really beautiful is, we have tremendous technology, from IP in a collection device, to how we automate, to people overuse it, but yes, we use AI around some of our results to make them equivalent to venipuncture, but everything along the way is using the regulatory frameworks necessary, and something, again, we're very proud of.
What is your product? What do you actually sell and monetize?
So we have two products. One is your doctors order you blood testing and you get results. So in that, we're a tech-enabled end-to-end solution where just like you would go to the incumbents like LabCorp and Quest, at the end of the day, we bill insurance or bill the patient to get broad results. But also, we have such an incredible solution when it comes to the collection experience that we're now starting to work with the largest healthcare systems in the nation, and even have a lot of international attention around, can you get me an automation ready to the lab? Can you bring the BetterWay collection experience to my health system? So we have two business models, and what's beautiful is it's based on that same underlying technology, where either we do the end-to-end, including our innovations in the lab, or we enable large healthcare organizations to have an automation-ready tube that they can process in their own lab.
So it's either a managed service that you charge for, or you teach people how to fish and they go do it and they buy.
We provide them with a front-end service. So there's been a lot of beautiful businesses built on that. We have that same core technology that you offer an end-to-end service, or you bundle core components of your technology and you sell them, and we're doing that.
So you've got the approvals, you're just rolling out now in Austin. You've rolled out in Austin,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
How long have you been in Austin?
We started our initial pilots in mid-24.
Okay.
We continue to expand. We launched, again, some things we've done is increased number of partners. We launched with Sam's Club in April, and we've increased our menu. We're now to over 60 tests available on our platform. These are the most frequently ordered tests and panels. We've increased payer coverage, and you'll continue to see us do that. We had a beautiful event on the East Coast a few weeks ago in partnership with Hackensack Meridian Health, where we did screening for men of color, for prostate and other things. You'll see us more and more pop up around the country. Austin is great for us. It's our home market. Again, we proved it works, it scales. We've done over 30 locations now and people love it. And now we're going to take that to bring it across the nation.
So now you're scaling. Why does Sam's Club, why are they attracted to this? Because it's another way to just drive revenue, drive margin for them? Or?
Well, I think a lot of our partners want to provide their members or their customers with great services.
Right.
That the beautiful part of having brick and mortar locations is you could provide tech-enabled services. And something like donating blood is something you can't do for broad testing at your home. Right. You can't do it mail order. So more and more using those physical locations to offer services that you have to do in person, right?
It brings them into the store and then they buy stuff when they're there.
Downstream, that's a benefit. But it's very similar for health systems. If you walk around here by the New York Stock Exchange, you see so many outpatient locations of leading health systems, right? Or healthcare organizations. Because they want David to become a patient that frequently interacts with them, and God forbid, you're 38% of the population that's pre-diabetic, now you're in their system. What is the most important step? If you're healthy, get your blood tested. If you're sick, get your blood tested. If you don't know, get your blood tested. If it's your first engagement with a health system or health organization, get your blood tested. It's the most important thing you could do. I mean, so we reduce that friction, and we reduce that friction in a way with BetterWay that you can deploy in those locations in something that your patients will prefer and they'll love. Again, a perfect fit for modern healthcare, a perfect fit for the modern economy.
So you're very disruptive. You mentioned a couple companies. You mentioned LabCorp and Quest. They've got the sort of entrenched old guard system. It's probably, relatively now, to what you're talking about, inefficient and expensive. So you're kind of disrupting that. How large is that market?
It's in the U.S. alone, the outpatient market is $50+ billion.
50 billion, 50.
50 billion.
And I wonder if you expand the TAM because of the convenience factor. Maybe the average price goes down, but the volume explodes because it's more cost effective. What you're describing,
much easier to deploy. Yes.
Right, and so
I think there's beautiful parts of our economy that show this. By making vaccines available at pharmacies, vaccines doubled from 2009 to 2019. Uber created 3 rides for every 1 ride.
I'm glad you excluded COVID in that. That was good. Good, well done.
But I think what's also kind of unique about blood testing is you're dealing with 30 to 40% non-compliance. So if you just add that on, there's a lot of us that are taking charge of our health. We want to be able to talk to our clinician or self-direct our blood testing. All of these will expand the market. And it's such a high leverage way of reducing downstream costs, improving health, improving outcomes, and just closing gaps in care. So what we'll see over the next years is more testing being done because you're not going to solve diabetes or heart disease or other chronic diseases by doing less testing. If anything, you want people to be compliant and get screened more frequently.
And I interrupted you. You were making an example of Uber. Carry that through.
I think, again, convenience grows economies, right? Because it reduces friction. I mean, my understanding is Uber created 3 rides for every 1 ride they took from taxis. So it's less about taking share from incumbents. LabCorp and Quest have a great infrastructure to provide a great service. It's about how do you expand this market? How do you provide choice? And how do you let the market speak and the patient and the consumer speak to what they want going forward? And healthcare, even though it's a giant part of our economy, might be one of the last ones where we haven't experienced convenience and accessibility and customer voice, but we will see.
So you see Babson as complementary to the existing, is that right? As opposed to disruptive? Or?
I think we've achieved what people thought was the impossible. We will disrupt the way it's done.
I was going to say, if I were those guys, I'd be buying you.
We are disrupting. We have several customers and patients in Austin. I will say, I only want BetterWay.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I don't ever want to do that again. I'm going to tell my doctor, go get this. Go to betterway.com. Right.
Now in healthcare, it's step-by-step showing what we're doing. And part of our now reaching out to large health organizations is the majority of orders in our health system is driven by these large health organizations, where they're finding the BetterWay solution and what we've done at Babson highly attractive. And in short order, you'll start to hear those partnerships.
What's the gate to you scaling? As CEO, you want to scale this, you've got product market fit, it's proven. What's the gate to scale, and how fast can you scale, and what's next?
Next will be these partnerships. You'll start to hear very large health organizations that you know announcing they're working with us. Mm-hmm. So we're using these large health organizations as our anchors to move geographically into different parts of America. So in Austin, we work from the bottom up with great partners on the collection side. And now what you'll see is we're going to start to also address the market top down with large health organizations.
And this device you showed us, that's your device, right? You manufacture that device?
Becton Dickinson manufactures it. They're a legal manufacturer, but we co-developed it with us.
So you co-designed it?
Co-developed it, yes.
Okay. And it's manufactured in the U.S.?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So
we have largely a U.S. supply chain. Many of us have 25 years of experience in healthcare industry and in diagnostics, and it just really made sense to consolidate our supply chain in the U.S. It allowed us to be really close to our manufacturers, and also we all were coming out of COVID and understood what went on there.
So you were part of the initial team.
Yes.
And when did you become CEO?
I was part of the initial team that incubated this idea inside of Siemens.
2015?
In 2015, it was a skunkworks project, and I left Siemens. We're very close to Siemens. They're a great investor, great strategic partner. I left in early 2020, fell back in love with Babson, and in towards the Q3, Q4 of 2020, I became CEO.
So people thought this was impossible.
Right.
You had the Theranos thing go on, which freaked everybody out. What gave you confidence to leave your cushy job at Siemens, which you probably do in your sleep, you probably had a good life, to come and take this chance? What gave you confidence, given that people said it was impossible?
I didn't leave. I left my job at Siemens to take 6 months off.
Okay.
I left December 31st. Eric Olson, the founder, and I had a call on January 2nd. He said, why don't you join and help? And it's hit the ground running since then. So that 6 months turned into 2 days. I've dedicated my life to diagnostics, right? And many of our team has. Majority of our team have dedicated their life to healthcare. Healthcare people are special. And what gave me confidence is we're a science-first company. We have incredible integrity. We're very humble when it comes to learning every day. And we said, hey, you know what? If we can truly reinvent the ecosystem, can we make this happen? Over that 10-year journey, there were many times that we sat and we said, holy mama, can we actually solve this technical challenge? But together, in partnership with BD and Siemens, we were able to do it. I can't lie to you and say, when we started out in 2015 in skunkworks and Siemens, and when Eric and I had that first conversation, they were confident. I can't tell you that I was confident along the way, but as we started to approach launch, we became more and more confident, and we also became more and more driven as we saw people that the current art of phlebotomy didn't work for them, and their eyes lit up when they were part of our clinical studies and said, holy mama, when can I do this? It really added fuel to the whole team's fire to bring this forward, because what's unique is we're all consumers, right? There's also a self-serving nature where our loved ones, where ourselves, all have to be tested, and we want a better way. And that's why we named it BetterWay blood testing, because people always said there had to be a better way, and we've realized that better way.
No question, there's a better way. All week we've been talking about these secular trends, one being the consumerization of healthcare, and this convenience factor that you're bringing to the table is really exciting. I can't wait to try it.
Well, everybody's invited to come down to Austin.
Bring it to Massachusetts.
Yeah, come, please, come down and visit us in Austin.
We're there all the time.
I'm looking forward
we love Austin.
To bring it to Massachusetts and bring it to the nation.
David, thank you very much for coming on theCUBE.
Much.
All right, appreciate it, you being part of NYSE Wired. All right, this is Dave Vellante for John Furrier and the entire CUBE and NYSE Wired. You're watching MedTech Unplugged. Keep it right there. We'll be back from the New York Stock Exchange right after this short break.